So, hey guys, I'm with Glenn Garnes the founder of Experts on Stage. Glenn, what's Experts on Stage? Tell us about it.
Well, first of all, Matthew, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. It's a pleasure to be here. Very quickly and succinctly, Experts on Stage is an organization. It's a first of its kind organization that was designed by me to promote and market speakers and coaching professionals. And we do a variety of different things, including helping speakers get in front of more audiences, both virtually and physically.
Awesome. That sounds great. So how important is speaking for a life coach?
Wow. I truly believe that for life coaches or coaching professionals that are taking their businesses seriously and understanding the value of technology and especially some of the virtual places that they can show up, podcasts like this chat right now that we're having, there are so many opportunities for coaching professionals to get themselves in front of their ideal client using these platforms that I think it's probably the number one thing that they should focus on from a marketing perspective. That's not the only thing, but it's the first thing they should focus on, because when it's done properly, you start to create a demand for yourself as you start appearing in these virtual places, podcasts, live stream events, even in-person meetings and things of that nature. There's so many different ways to create an audience and get in front of the right people. And there's so many reasons why you should be doing it that it just doesn't make sense not to be doing it.
How does it compare to like text? Like if you're writing blog articles and you're doing content creation online and you're not speaking, what are you leaving on the table if you're just doing other forms of communication?
So one of the things I think that I would highlight that is so powerful about speaking from the stage, and let's clarify what we mean by stage. It could be a traditional stage where you're in person in front of an audience of people on a real stage with, theater seating and all that. It could be just in a meeting room. It could be a informal group that you host in like a meetup type of environment or something. I know, in fact, I think you're an advocate for the meetup approach.
I'm a strong advocate for a meetup because it's a way to go from zero to you're on stage in front of people with very, very low barrier to entry. You just, you don't have to be in this big conference. You go from 0 to 5 people at your meetup really fast without having any existing audience.
Exactly. And so I wanted to be clear that the meetup route is a stage. And I've actually used that one. I used to host a meetup called Entrepreneur Mastermind, where I invited other business owners who wanted to come out and just talk about business related ideas. I presented on a topic, and then the rest of the time we just spent connecting in networks, almost like a networking event with a little bit of an educational component. And there wasn't one meetup where I didn't get a handful of people who signed up to join the organization that I had created. So that model absolutely works. So in answer to your question, what you miss when you simply do a blog article or a social media post is the ability to actually to make a connection with the people in the room. I can write a really great article and it can be very informational and very helpful, but nothing is going to substitute for me being able to look someone in the eye, or even if I'm doing it virtually like we are here right now, to be able to look into the camera and share a tidbit of wisdom and go into much greater detail and deeper on the subject matter than you ever could in a blog article. And that's not to say that blog articles aren't valuable, but if you're looking at the time value of money and the value of your time, the bigger bang for the buck is to be on stage, to be in front of an audience, to at least pre-record something that's going to be shared with an audience, because it's just much more compelling than simply writing an article or posting a quote on social media.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love blogging and I love, writing articles. Like for me, writing is a great medium, but there's something that's a lot more convincing when it's face to face. It's easier to build trust and credibility that way. It's pretty hard to convey serious trust and credibility through a blog article. I mean, you can be vulnerable and share stories, and that helps. But there's always a video component or an audio component where someone's speaking really allows you to relate to the author a lot more.
Well, Matthew, as you know, there is a great value to any type of content marketing that you do. And every type of content marketing has its strengths and weaknesses and its benefits. And so writing a blog article can sometimes be faster and simpler, and especially for people who don't have a strong camera presence and they don't like being in the media, so to speak. But the limitations are that you miss the opportunity to make that personal connection. I'm real big on teaching our clients and our members on how to let people get to know you as they get to know your business. We want to introduce them to the face behind the business, so that when you have a relation, when you have a new client that comes on board, it feels like a relationship, not a transaction.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that all starts, the process of creating that relationship starts with the speaking process. Even if you're in an environment like this where we're being interviewed on a podcast, there's still more of a contact, more of a connection that's made when you're in this type of environment than when you are simply writing a blog article. And so I would hasten to add that, again, every platform, every form of content marketing has its value, but I have always found the biggest bang for the buck in my business has been getting in front of audiences that I get the opportunity to have a connection to, because it really is a matter of accelerating the sales cycle. And what I mean by that is, when you're in front of someone and you're delivering value to them, the value translates into credibility.
Mm.
Credibility delivered sustainably translates into trust, and trust translates into influence. So by the time that you're done speaking, it's no longer a sales pitch. It's a matter of people wanting to know how you can help them next.
Yeah, I love that. So that's also really spot on, and I totally agree. It's just a really way to accelerate the sales cycle and have people like connect with you and build trust with you a lot faster. I have a lot of life coaches on my list and clients who would describe themselves as introverted and camera shy. And usually what I tell them when they bring something up like this is, hey, like what matters the most is that you just be, you don't have to act like Tony Robbins in your videos. You just be yourself, and just, it doesn't really matter. Like, you don't have to overthink the production quality of it. You just share what you're doing, what's on your mind that day. And that's often really interesting. What do you have to say about that?
Well, that's the number one reason people don't take advantage of being on the stage. They're intimidated about being in front of a microphone. You notice how this microphone is not biting me or shocking. It's not a taser.
Yeah.
No, they're intimidated by it. But here's what I found is the easiest way to get over that. Most people, when they stand in front of the microphone, they think they were there to give a presentation. What you should be visualizing is that you're about to have a conversation.
Mm.
So instead of having a presentation, picture yourself having a conversation. One of the best speaking engagements I've ever done was when I walked out onto the stage and everyone was waiting for me to walk up to the lectern and to, to like really raise the roof. And I pulled aside, I asked the stage personnel to pull aside and get me a stool. And I asked them to get me a wireless microphone. And I sat on the stool. And I said, hey, listen, I know you all were here waiting for this raging, roof lifting presentation, but today I just want to have a conversation with you. And so I'm more interested in knowing what you want to talk about than what I've come to present. So why don't we start with some questions? And they took a microphone and gave it to the crowd. We spent the whole time doing Q&A. I invited people up on stage. I had them eventually bring out another stool. And I basically interviewed and talked with people the whole time. And you would have thought that I was there in the room with my best friends. By the time we were done, they were my best friends. And so that's important to know, because you don't have to be intimidated about the environment. That could have been done in front of 10 people, 20 people, 200 people. It doesn't matter, because it takes all of the tension out of the room when you're just there to talk with people.
Yeah.
Now, if you have a hard time talking with people, you're going to have a hard time being successful as a coach.
That's a good point. That's definitely a good point. I like what you're saying a lot, because I think the anxiety that comes with presenting is thinking that is when people script it too much, and they think that they have to record their speech according to a script and have this whole thing prepared, rather than just making it like a conversation, as you say. Because a conversation is obviously unscripted. You say whatever's relevant in the moment, and that's the key, is that you don't have to be nervous. You're not nervous when you have a conversation with someone. What gets us nervous is when we try to overscript things.
Yeah, and overscripting it is a symptom of overthinking it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a coaching professional, you obviously have expertise with something that helps somebody. When you're sitting one-to-one with your client, or even a group setting, you don't have any problem having a conversation with people about what it is that you know to help them. Why does that change all of a sudden when you're on stage with a microphone in front of you? It changes because your mindset shifts you into something that makes you feel uncomfortable. So shift yourself back into your comfort level. This is the one time it's okay to be in your comfort zone, by turning the presentation back to a conversation
Yeah.
and just be your authentic self. For some people, that might mean sitting on a stool. For some people, it might mean sitting in the crowd with the rest of the people. Like that's what a meetup's for. You make a circle up and you have a chat. For some people, you're comfortable in front of the lectern. For others, you might be comfortable walking and pacing the stage. Whatever makes you comfortable, make sure that your comfort level doesn't distract from your ability to deliver value,
Mm.
because that's the reason that speaking works, is because you're in a position to deliver value at a much higher level than you can through a blog post.
Yeah, this is so spot on. Like it really is. And the way I frame it when I'm talking about meetups, for example, is that I want you to host a low stress, I call it a low stress meetup, because you don't have to think about preparing all these speeches and whatnot. It's just, you show up and you have a conversation with whoever's there, one at a time. Like you're saying, the Q&A format works brilliantly. Even if you're doing a YouTube, if you're trying to produce YouTube content and you're not interviewing someone, it's just you and the webcam. Still, that conversational Q&A style works a lot. And I want to ask you about that. Like, what do you think about people doing YouTube? What would be your YouTube strategy? Should you interview people, or should you like do a webcam, and how should you approach it if you do a webcam kind of thing?
I think you can do both, but one of the best ways and probably one of the most convenient ways to do this is, even if you're just on cam by yourself delivering to a YouTube audience, you should solicit questions in advance and then just answer people's questions. Hey, here are the questions we got this week. This is our our life coach a life coach
Yeah,
mastermind meeting, whatever you
right,
want to call it.
right.
I'm here to answer your questions. Here are the questions that were submitted so far this week.
Yeah.
You know,
That's so easy too. That's just
it's
like, hey,
easy.
I'm
It's
just
simple.
doing, I'm going to answer these 5 questions, and that's the content. And in a way that you don't run out of content ideas, because you can find unlimited content, unlimited questions that people have related to your niche, and just answer those. Like every video could be one question, really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you can have content for life by just answering a few simple questions for people. And here's the secret sauce in that.
Hmm.
You're delivering value. That's why I'm really authentic when I tell people the questions that you came here to ask are more important than the topics I came to present on. So let's talk about what's on your mind and let's make that the content. So that's all you're doing, is you're flipping the script. I could talk for an hour about something. Wow, I really wish I could ask them this question, but the format doesn't allow for the question to be asked.
Love it. Yeah.
So I'd like to respond to what's on people's minds rather than just delivering what I want them to know.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah. That's all really, really spot on. Really spot on.
Great.
Uh, yeah. And so how does someone evolve from like doing just YouTube videos or podcasts or even low key meetups to doing something more serious, like being on stage in front of a lot of people, speaking at a conference?
You basically have to plan it. I mean, you have to first have a desire to do those things, and you have to have a plan for how you're going to do it. For example, I mean, you and I got on this call largely by accident. I sent you an informational post on LinkedIn to let you know what I was doing with experts on stage, and you're like, "Hey, would you like to come talk about that on my podcast?"
Yeah.
I mean, that's not the way we wrote it up on the board, but it works, But here's
Sure.
the point: if I am a coaching professional, a life coach, and I know that being on stages is important, what I would do is I would develop a marketing plan to get myself in front of more people that have an audience, have a stage. There are podcasters, there's vloggers, there's people that do Zoom conferences like the one that you're doing here, which I think is just a fantastic medium.
Hmm.
And the bottom line is that if you make the conscious decision to get yourself into those environments, it will happen. Now, one of the best ways to do that is to develop what I call a pitch pack. And I learned this from a Hollywood professional who has been in network television and movie industry and voiceover work for over 40 years. This guy is brilliant when it comes to how to present on camera. He was one of my coaches. He's brilliant when it comes to presenting in camera presence and production values. He taught me how to put together a 4-page document that gives you a superior opportunity for someone to select you to be interviewed on their traditional radio show, network television, podcast. Doesn't matter what the environment is, because you actually are delivering value just in giving them your pitch, your so-called pitch pack. So Psychologically, I would tell you, prepare yourself by starting with smaller stages so that you get into a rhythm. You establish a level of comfort with the idea of being in front of an audience, albeit a small one. And then simply try a variety of different environments. Like you said, podcast is great. A Facebook Live is great. YouTube Live is great. Maybe then being on a real radio. I mean, I say a real radio show. The real radio today is podcasting. So let's make that clear. But a traditional radio show, what we call terrestrial radio.
Mhm.
My point is that go into new environments as you develop a comfort level with the one you just came out of. Start with one that's lower key, more, more informal, and then develop a level of comfort as you go along. You will find that as you experience new things, you'll be open to new things. And that's when the magic really starts. When you feel like you can walk out onto any stage, no matter how big it is, no matter how pressure packed it may be. It all starts with taking those baby steps and putting one foot in front of the other.
Yeah, I love that. That's all really excellent. What do you think the value is of like going to better and better, or like like more serious stages? Like what is the difference between you doing YouTube Live, or you posting, you being on a podcast versus you speaking in front of 2,000 people? What is that? What's the difference in terms of your business? What does that do for your
So,
business?
so I would have to say to you that I think in a lot of ways it's difficult to quantify the value of getting in front of more people on stages. But if I had to try to quantify it, let me say this.
Hmm.
There are statistics that show that you will average $1 a month for every person that gets on your mailing list in terms of sales of your products and services.
Interesting.
So if you have 10,000 people on your mailing list, you should, if you have your products and services priced right, average about $10,000 a month in revenue. Okay. So the faster you grow your mailing list with people who are ideal to be served by you, meaning your ideal client, your avatar, the faster you can then convert that into an income stream that makes it worthwhile for you to be in the business that you choose to be in. Now, it's important to diversify your product line, online courses, digital information products, group coaching, one-to-one coaching, books, and there's all kinds of ways for you to monetize what you know. But you still have to have the right traffic and the right audience. So 2,000 people in an auditorium, and you're standing on stage, and you can say to them after you've delivered great value to them, hey, if you'd like to continue the conversation, text the word Glenn, Glenn, to 69696.
Ah,
Now, how many people are going to pull out their cell phone and do that almost immediately? So
very
now
few.
you've got their cell phone number,
Yeah.
and the cell phone number now you're sending them back a link to get on your mailing list to download your two free chapters out of your
Yeah.
book, or a free consultation, or whatever your lead magnet is.
Right. No,
Every time you
that's
get in
yeah.
front of an audience, that's like free lead generation.
Right. And even if a small fraction of the audience like ends up signing up for your lead magnet, that's still a significant amount of high quality people coming into your funnel, coming into your mailing list. Because the difference between leads that you get through speaking, those are automatically very high quality because they know who you are and they trust you already. So I imagine those leads are higher quality than leads that you get just
You
through your
bet. You
search.
bet. And I will tell you right now that 50% opt-in rates when you have spoken in front of the room is not unusual.
That's awesome. Yeah.
It can actually become the norm. And here's why. They've already heard you speak. So if they've chosen to get on your mailing list, they're obviously interested in continuing the conversation.
Yeah.
So it's not a matter of like, why did they do that? Were they just curious? No, they were actually interested in continuing the
Mm.
conversation and see how much more value you could deliver to them. So speaking begins the conversation, and your ability to give them a simple and easy vehicle to continue it is what makes the difference in terms of how much value being a speaker from the stage on your products and services will be.
Yeah.
So I really think it's priceless. I mean, I'll give you an example. I used to charge $5,000, ultimately went up to $10,000 an hour to be hired by an organization to come and speak on topics related to entrepreneurship and business networking. I'm a retired attorney, represented business owners for about 25 years. So I get called in to speak on a lot of different business related topics. The point I'm trying to make is simply this. I stopped charging once I realized that the value of getting in front of people in the room was worth 10 times what I would ever be able to charge an organization to have me
Mm,
come and speak. And since I no longer had to wait until I could find people that had a budget for me, as long as they were putting butts in seats that were relevant to what I was doing, I would have paid them to get in front of those people, let alone come and have them pay me.
that's genius. It's free
Yeah,
advertising, and it's not about the speaking fee. It's about getting them into your funnel.
exactly. You have to have a bigger picture vision for the value of things. A lot of times we allow ego. Well, I don't speak for free. Well, you know what? That's why you're not getting called.
Yeah.
You don't speak for free, you don't coach for free, but you're not getting in front of people who can pay you.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I know some of my clients who want to host meetups. They're worried about, or they have hosted meetups in the past. They get confused when it comes to transitioning from the meetup to selling later on. And you've kind of touched on this in your last comment, but how do you really transition from the speaking to selling?
So there are a number of psychological ways that you can introduce people to the idea that you actually charge for what you do without making it sound like a sales pitch. Like for example, if I'm on a stage and I'm talking about a topic, and I might say subliminally with people, when I'm working with my coaching clients, these are the types of things that I tell them. And I'm here to tell you those things right now. Now, I haven't said you should become my coaching client. What I said was to that, what they heard is, oh, he does coaching.
Mm,
Okay. So now when I say to them, for those of you that might have an interest in continuing the conversation, let me show you some ways that we can do that. For those of you that might be interested in having a free consultation with me to see, kind of where things are going in your business, here's, text the word consultation to this number.
mm.
For those of you that might be interested in attending one of my events, where and you can tell them one of my paid events, here's how you can continue that. You're basically giving them the option. For those of you who would like to know more about how you could benefit by becoming a member of Experts on Stage, here's where you can go to find more information and determine for yourself whether this would help you in your business.
I like that it's so direct response. Like you're saying, text the word blanky blank to this number. And that's something I haven't thought of. Like I'm always thinking of in terms of email,
Sure.
capturing email addresses, but I like that you use the text like that as a tool because everyone has got their phone on them at all times. And it's really easy to just sign up to a list through text.
Well, and that's the point is you're getting both the email and
Yeah.
the cell phone number. Okay.
Yeah, which is great.
And to be honest with you, Matthew, that's one of the reasons why we include a text messaging system for every member of Experts on Stage. We don't want any of our experts walking out on stage and having to remember the URL, text the word, go to EIEIO.com/this/that. No,
Yeah.
text the word freebie to 69696 and you'll automatically get a link to get what I just promised you.
Yeah, that's really
People are
smart.
doing
Yeah,
that. Yeah, exactly.
It's so easy
But
because as you said, no one's going to go to a URL after they leave.
yeah, they're still trying. You're on to the next top, and they're still trying to remember what the URL was.
Exactly.
And it doesn't matter how short it is. I've actually purchased URLs I forward to try to shorten it, but still people get it wrong. It's kind of hard to forget a 5-letter word and then the short code. So the point is that using these tools the right way enhances your professionalism. It lets them know that you are serious in your business and therefore you'll take their business seriously. That's
Yeah.
that's why I spend most of my time teaching professionals, coaching professionals how to understand the proper deployment of technology. Technology should be used to enhance relationships, not replace them.
Love it. So Glenn, is there anything else you want to leave us with about Experts on Stage? Any offers that you have that you want to share with this audience of life coaches?
Absolutely. So Experts on Stage is what I characterize as, and I know this to be true factually. We are a first of its kind organization that promotes and markets speakers and coaching professionals. We have our own internet television network. We have our own TV and radio studio. This is the radio studio in here. And we have a complete integrated turnkey system for lead generation and for creating opportunities to get on stages. So I don't want to turn this into an infomercial for it because again, our goal here was to deliver some thoughts, plant some seeds on some value because once you understand the value, whether you do this with us or you go someplace else to do it, you at least have been enriched to the point that you understand the value of being on stage, as many stages as you can get on. And especially evergreen stages like this one, where people will be watching this video 5 months from now.
Mm.
Matthew and I will be someplace else, on a boat somewhere, hopefully together, maybe. You never know. But my point is that what I want you to understand is that this organization was designed to make it simpler and easier for you to increase your impact by getting in front of more people, because along with the increase in impact, you will almost always experience an increase in income. So rather than try to turn this into an infomercial, let me just encourage you to do this. Go to expertsonstage.com, and there is a landing page there that has everything you'd want to know about the program. There's a short 4-minute video. Matthew has seen that video that kind of succinctly makes the case for being on stage. That's why you invited me to talk. You wanted me to go into greater detail about
Exactly.
that 4-minute video. But just as importantly, on that page, it very simply and quickly explains the value of becoming part of a speaker bureau that has its own lead generation system that takes you to your end user client, but also gets you in front of the people and organizations that will get you in front of your ideal client. So take a visit to expertsonstage.com, and you should be able to find everything you need to know there. If you'd like to get to know me a little bit better, you can text the word Glenn, Lenn, to 69696. And you'll get a link to my personal profile, my virtual business card, where you can kind of get a little bit more acquainted with me personally.
Okay, awesome. Glenn, that's going to be extremely valuable to my audience. I know anyone who watches this surely will be convinced that speaking, they need to start speaking now if they haven't already. And thanks so much for the extreme shots of value.
Well, listen, I know that we're going to be staying in touch. I'm going to cut you every way but loose now that I know that you exist. I hope you'll do the same with me. So feel free to call me anytime you think there's something I can do to be of service to you.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
All right, Matthew, take care now, and thanks again.